This was the scene at UFC 327, where President Trump stepped back into the public eye for the first time since the end of the Iran war. He walked into a roaring Miami arena alongside Dana White, waving to a crowd that had been waiting weeks for a sighting of the commander-in-chief. We analyze the hidden mechanics of political optics every week. Subscribe and hit the bell to see how powerful figures shape their public image. The atmosphere was a sharp departure from the mood just days earlier. While the conflict was active, the administration operated under a strict wartime protocol that essentially cleared the president's public calendar. During this period, the normal optics of a presidency, including the rallies, the site visits, and leisure appearances, were completely suspended. A commander-in-chief cannot be seen at a stadium during an active military engagement. This protocol resulted in high-profile absences. Trump was notably absent from the Super Bowl, skipping the largest single cultural event on the American calendar. He also withdrew from the global stage, avoiding the Winter Olympics in Italy as the country remained on a high-alert footing. When a leader goes silent for this long, their return to a major sporting event acts as a visual shorthand for the country. It tells the public that the emergency protocol has been lifted and normal life is officially back on the schedule. The turning point came on Tuesday when a ceasefire agreement was officially reached behind closed doors, ending the immediate threat of continued escalation. Trump's departure from the White House lawn was his first step back into the role of a peacetime leader. But before he left, he had one more objective. He had to define what the ceasefire actually meant. Speaking to reporters before boarding the helicopter, he stated, "We win regardless. We've defeated them militarily. Whether we make a deal or not makes no difference to me. This timeline shows the window between the diplomatic signing and the public announcement. By compressing the time between the policy action and the victory lap, they ensured the public's first impression was one of total dominance rather than compromise. The Tuesday presser wasn't just an update, it was a calculated move to ensure that when he finally appeared in public on Saturday, the victory was already an established fact in the minds of his supporters." That brings us to Saturday night in Miami. The city's high-energy, neon-lit backdrop was chosen specifically for the president's first post-war appearance. Trump didn't just attend, he walked in with UFC CEO Dana White. This pairing signaled a level of corporate alignment and personal loyalty that you rarely see in other major professional sports leagues. He also stopped to confer with Joe Rogan at the announcer's table. Rogan's presence connects the administration directly to a massive, highly engaged demographic that largely bypasses traditional news networks. But the most significant detail wasn't a media personality. It was the presence of the nation's top diplomat sitting right in the middle of the crowd. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was seen leaning in, cupping his hands to whisper directly to the president. It was a stark reminder that even in a sports arena, high-level geopolitics were still the primary focus. The collision of a sports CEO, a massive podcast audience, and the Secretary of State creates a singular environment where the line between a sporting event and an official state victory lap effectively disappears. Physical location and scheduling are active forms of communication. Where a president chooses to stand tells the public exactly how they want the current moment to be perceived. By returning to a crowded arena, Trump signaled that the period of wartime austerity was over. He was telling the country that the threat had been neutralized, and the commander was now back to being the leader. But choosing the UFC, an arena defined by individual combat and physical dominance, carries a much more aggressive subtext than an appearance at a golf tournament or a baseball game. We can track Trump's reliance on the UFC through his history of appearances at events like UFC 244, 302, and 309. Over the years, he has systematically built these fights into alternative political venues. This appearance is different from his standard campaign visits. By timing the return to the ceasefire agreement, he is linking the image of domestic dominance in the arena to the military outcome of the war. Ultimately, Trump successfully utilized the Kaseya Center as a global stage. He wasn't just there to watch a fight. He was there to ensure that the Iran war ended on his terms, in front of a cheering crowd as a declared victor.